Mr. Dog Withington, welcome to Pakistan Business Professional Council. Madam Samantha, welcome to the Pakistan Business Council. Of course, Rizwana is the leader here for ICAEW, and welcome. And all the members who participated in the Zoom, welcome to this important ICAEW pathway, way of becoming the member on that account. This membership workshop is in line with what we have done before in 2019 also. Council is promoting this, feeling that it has a weight in it. We always, from the beginning when I was in A. Ferguson company, then we say England and Wales, ICAEW, that time it's popular. And then that time we used to go, our senior go to UK and they come back and then practice here. I'm talking about 1960. And then afterwards, on 16th Institute was formed. And then this is our own institute, but still many members visit to London. But solely, if you see, Pakistan maybe have more than 100 companies from British origin, like British Oxygen, Spencer's, Lever Brothers, you name anything, you will find Beecham, you name anything, it's there in Pakistan and it's still functioning. Mitchell's, they're all from that part of period. And of course, in the two organizations, the management, and as I said in my discussion, that chartered accountant standard was very high in ICAEW, very high. And if you see the experience, the structure of courses is extraordinarily excellent, that members are the CEO of the companies, majority in Pakistan. And they are wanted person for the group in the financial sector, in the industry sector, in any other sector. So council will continue on that, promoting your organization, and we work hand to hand on that. And we see, as you mentioned, the growth is, we see more growth in this. Thank you very much. Rizwana, you want to say something?
Just want to say, I think it's a great opportunity for everyone to have this session on timely basis. And especially with the Zoom, everybody can just clarify their queries there and that. So we really appreciate your support.
Thank you, Rizwana. Now over to Mr. Dodd.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for inviting us. Thank you both very much. And yeah, welcome to everyone who's dialing in online. It's a pleasure to be here and to share some information and continue the collaboration. Now we can meet in person is a good thing. So I'm here today to talk about ICAEW Pathways. I look after Pathways globally, and as you mentioned, Dr. Anis, we have this membership route which is really growing rapidly, particularly in Pakistan and also in the Middle East. So it's a great opportunity to be able to share this route to membership for those people who are interested in becoming a member of ICAEW. So we're going to run through a few things today, which I hope will be useful. We'll do a brief introduction to ICAEW, and then we'll obviously move swiftly to focus on Pathways. I'm sure you're all familiar with the Institute, but we can look at why you might want to join through this route, and importantly, what you need to do if you want to become a member of ICAEW through Pathways. And also we'll focus on some of the costs involved, the next steps after today, and of course, the support that is available. So we don't just leave after today and wish you luck. We try and engage and support you along the journey to becoming a member. So if we just have a brief introduction to ICAEW. So clearly, there is a lot of history to the Institute. As we began, it was very much about accountants clearly in England and Wales, as the name indicates. But as time has gone on, we have become a global institute. We have members and students in around about 150 countries. And we have now nearly 190,000 members and students across those countries.
190,000.
190,000, yeah. And so we also are a founding member of Chartered Accountants Worldwide, which represents nearly 2 million accountants and students. And we have our headquarters in London at Chartered Accountants Hall. And clearly, if you become a member, you'd be very welcome there to make use of the member spaces, to network, do business there, and come and visit us. But we also, of course, have the office in Dubai. So my colleague Sam, who is here today, works in that office. So that office is where we can support our members and students in the UAE and, of course, across the wider Gulf as well. So we very much position ourselves as a world leader in terms of accounting and finance. And we have a strategy which drives trust in the profession and also is about creating a world of strong and sustainable economies. So, of course, our members are in key decision-making positions across the globe, but they also work across a range of different areas of accounting and finance. So if we hone in a little bit more on the Middle East, but of course it'd probably be appropriate to talk about Pakistan as well. As I say, we've had the office here in Dubai since 2009. We also have a staff member in Saudi Arabia. And the members in the Middle East is about 1,250. The members in Pakistan is around 750 members, okay? That number has grown in Pakistan significantly over the past 3 years, predominantly due to this route of being able to come in through pathways. Students across the ACA qualification and CFAB is around about 1,800. And obviously in the region, Sam and colleagues work with a number of training employers and other key stakeholders as well. So if we just focus now on pathways and what it is, well, essentially it's a route to membership for people who are either, as is relevant here, ICAEW members or ACCA members. So you must be a member of one of those two bodies, and you must also be a member for a minimum of 5 years to be eligible for this route. So you'll hear me talk today about submission windows. So we have, as it stands, 2 submission windows a year. So 2 opportunities to actually submit and upload your application to Pathways. And of course, prior to those windows opening, you can be working on your submission and getting it to a place where you're really happy with it so that you can hopefully have a successful submission. But we'll talk about some more of the details a little later on. And it's just important to note that actually if you come into ICAEW membership through this route, then we are acknowledging you as a full member, obviously equal in standing to a member has come through the exams and training route. There is, however, one slight difference, and that is that if you have come through the Pathways route, then you will not be able to gain audit rights in the UK. So audit is clearly regulated in various countries and jurisdictions, and is no different in the UK, regulated by the FRC. And of course, in order to satisfy the FRC and sign audits, you will need to have done the appropriate exams and training in that jurisdiction. So if we just look at some high-level facts about Pathways. So I said that it's a fast-growing route into membership. So over the past couple of years, about 1,000 new members via this route globally. Okay, and actually, if we look at the breakdown geographically, the UK is just about clinging on as the largest pathways market. Very closely behind is Pakistan. Okay, and then we have both the UAE and Saudi Arabia in the top 5 in terms of countries. Okay, so that is where we see the interest being driven from and where we see people having value from becoming a member through this route. So because you must have been a member of your home body for a minimum of 5 years, we see mid to senior level accounting and finance professionals. We see them across a range of different areas of accounting and finance, whether it be audit, people who work in taxation, people who work in banking or management accountants, whoever it is, across a range of different sectors as well, the largest being business. And as I've said, it's a really diverse route, people coming from 35 countries. So I like to say, if you can think of anyone who works in accounting and finance, probably anywhere in the globe, then the chances are that we've had at least one of those types of people come in through pathways in the last few years. So if we now have a look at something which is very important, because if you're to do this route and embark on this journey to become a member, then you need to be satisfied as to why you're doing this. Why would you, of course, be a member perhaps of ICAEW and also want to become a member of ICAEW? So we have done an exercise which is through polling, through talking to members, talking to people who have an interest in this membership route. We have come up with these sort of top 5 reasons, which are clearly very sort of straightforward. And the first of those is, of course, becoming a member for the ACA designatory letters. So that is about being a member of ICAEW and gaining that global qualification, that global designation and the recognition that that brings. So tied into that, of course, is the fact that people want to become a member for career progression and often for relocation purposes as well. So when we think about that, that is people who want to progress through their career within the organization in which they're based, or they might want to progress their career by moving to another country. And so actually having been in Pakistan a couple of weeks ago to meet with members, to host the new member graduation ceremonies, and to talk a lot about pathways, it was very much evident to me that people want to become a member of ICAEW for exactly these reasons, that it allows them to progress their career, it allows them to add to their professional profile. And so alongside that, of course, we have the support and resources. Naturally, you will have some of those with your home membership body, but we would like to think that we can certainly complement those that you already receive, that we can use our position as a global leader in accounting and finance to provide insights and information, which is very much cutting edge. Of course, the events we run, we can attract some really high profile speakers. And we also host a lot of events for networking opportunities as well. So as I say, whether that be in Pakistan or whether that be in the UAE or elsewhere. So there are, as a sort of snapshot, if you like, of some of the member benefits. Clearly today, we don't have time to go into all those benefits and gain the full overview, but you can see the link to the website there. And I would encourage you to go and explore that, because as I say, it's vital that you determine the value which this membership is going to bring you. But of course, as I say, we have some things that stand out particularly. We have our communities, which are numbering about 30. They are online communities free to join for our members, where you can actually go and network, gain insights, gain knowledge and information about a particular field of accounting and finance. So whether that be around data analytics and interest or work you might have in that, whether you want to join the community because you're a young member, whether you work in accounting and finance in manufacturing, whatever it is, we have a community which will suit. We, of course, have all the support in terms of the technical and ethical helplines. We have our contact members where we don't have an office. We have members who work pro bono to represent the interest and bring together the network of members in country. So we also have the member events. And that is a really crucial thing. And it is a very refreshing to be able to host those member events in person. So as I say, we're now beginning to do that. We had the events in Pakistan a couple of weeks ago. We've had a number of events which have taken place in the UAE. So we had a young members social event, and I always think this one looks quite fun. So that was certainly well subscribed by our younger members. That was back in March. Very recently, actually, just a couple of weeks ago, we had a member dinner in Dubai, which was really well attended, an opportunity for some senior ICAEW staff and contact members to join with new members who've just come in, members who've come in since we've had the pandemic who've not been able to tap into these networks. So that was a great event. And then we had another event as well, a lunch for some of our senior members as well in May. So that is just a sort of whistle-stop tour and showcase of some of our member benefits. But now, hopefully, if that has sparked some interest, you will want to know what it is you need to do in order to take the journey to become a member of ICAEW through Pathways. So we're going to run through that now. This is an introductory session, clearly, so there will be an opportunity down the line for us to engage, whether it be with my colleague Sam or myself, to really support you and help you understand these requirements and how to satisfy them. But there are essentially 4 things you need to do, which you can see there on the screen. 4 things you need to do to become a member and to make a submission, as we call it. Making a submission is essentially making an application. So the first of those things is very much an administrative task. It's registering as a candidate for Pathways. We then have that you have to gain a letter of good standing from your home professional body. We also have that you need to gain the support of a sponsor for your Pathways submission. And then last but not least, and the largest bulk of what will make up your submission for Pathways is you must complete the examination of experience. And I'll explain all of these in a little more detail now. So we need to just firstly talk about registering. That's a very simple process. We won't spend too long. It's basically getting an account with us on our website so that when the time comes for you to submit and upload your documents for Pathways, you can do that by going on our website and into your account with ICAEW. So that is straightforward. Now, the second thing you need to do, which is an administrative task, so it won't take you very long at all, is to gain a letter of good standing from your home membership body. So whether you be a member of ICAEW or ACCA, you will need to approach that body and you will need to request from them a letter of good standing because you are doing ICAEW Pathways. And so if you are to make a submission at the next submission window I referred to, that window is open in July and August. So it is within July and August that you can actually take all your documents and upload them and make a submission. So of course, if you want to get those documents together, the first one you'll get together is the letter of good standing. And you would need to request that after the 2nd of June, so not long. And you can then get that letter back, you PDF it, and you would file it away on your computer in your Pathways submission folder that I would imagine you would have where you're going to start collecting your documents. So that is straightforward. Now, the third thing is you need to gain the support of a sponsor if you are to do Pathways. So you will be thinking, who can be my sponsor and what is it they need to do for me? And so in terms of who they can be, well, the sponsor needs to be 2 things. The first is that they must know you in a professional capacity. So they will likely work with you in the same office, sit on a committee with you. You might have done your training with them and maintain a professional relationship. They could be a client. There's any number of ways, but they must know you professionally. And they also must be a member of an IFAC member body. So essentially a qualified accounting or finance professional. So most likely, although not mandatory, they will be from the same professional body as you. So if you're an ICAEW member and then you're in your practice, then you will most likely perhaps get another ICAEW member, but you could equally get an ACCA member, or indeed you could get an ICAEW member to be your sponsor, okay? So you've identified that person, they know you professionally, they're a qualified accountant or finance professional. Now, what do they need to do? Well, they need to do two things. The first is they need to also go and get their own letter of good standing from their professional body. So if you, as let's say an ICAEW member, were doing pathways, you would request your own letter of good standing, and your sponsor would also request a letter of good standing. And they will PDF that letter, send it to you, and you now have the two documents, your own letter of good standing and your sponsor's letter of good standing, okay? If your sponsor is an ICAEW member, they don't need to get that letter, okay? The other thing the sponsor does, and the third document you're going to collect, is that they complete the sponsor form. So that is a short form they complete saying that they've read your submission and they're happy to sign off on it, okay? So they then complete that, PDF it, send it to you, and you have the three documents ready to go. So that deals with those first three requirements. Now, the last requirement in order to make a submission is you need to complete the examination of experience, okay? And whilst that might sound a little bit daunting, obviously we're here today to explain that it doesn't need to be so. It is quite straightforward, but it will require obviously some of your time and some work and effort in order to ensure that you get a good submission in and a good examination of experience. So what is it? Well, the first thing to say is it is not an invigilated exam. You are not going to an exam hall to sit an ICAEW exam, such as our ACA case study, in a timed environment. You're not doing that. This exam is something you do in your own time, in the comfort of your own home, and you can spend weeks, possibly even a couple of months or 3 months, working on it, refining it, and getting it in a place where you're happy to submit it alongside the other documents. So it is non-invigilated. The questions, there are 5 of them. And the questions are not a secret. They are on our website all year round, and they don't change from submission window to submission window. Okay? So there are no surprises in terms of this exam. Now, the 5 questions, which you're going to answer in your own time, are seeking evidence of certain skills or attributes which we deem as important for an ICAEW member to possess. And you will answer the questions, demonstrate the skills and attributes by using specific examples from your last 5 years of work experience. So 5 questions, answering them, using examples just from the last 5 years, no further back than that, okay? So that's really crucial. And the exam is, of course, not there to test your technical abilities. You did that when you did your qualification and, of course, during your working life. This is about trying to understand your experience and the work you've done in the last 5 years, okay? So the word count for the examination experience will be around and about 4,500 words. Okay, so it sounds quite a lot, but there are techniques you can use, which I can share if you're interested later on, as to how to break that down, make it more manageable, and obviously ensure that you can spend, as I say, some weeks, chipping away at it so that you can get to that document, that 4,500 words, in not too an onerous fashion. So that is some of the background. And clearly we will take any questions towards the end if I've not made anything clear enough. But today, we're not going to spend too long diving into the questions, okay? I host further sessions online where we actually look at the questions in detail. We look at how to answer them. We look at how to structure your answers in a fashion which the examiners will like to see. Okay, but it's useful for us today, isn't it, to just have a brief look at the questions, to try and understand those skills I was talking about, that each question has a skill or attribute tied to it. Okay, so it's seeking that. So we know for question 1, you will be demonstrating evidence of how you have identified business issues in your last 5 years of work. In question 2, you'll be providing, again, examples of how you have used the skill of analysis. Question 3 is about showing where you've used judgment. And question 4 is showcasing for the examiners where you have given advice, whether that be internal advice within your organization or whether that is external advice to a client, for example. And the 5th question is our ethics question. So you need to demonstrate how you've dealt with an ethical issue in the last 5 years. So those are the themes of the questions, but it gets slightly, very slightly more complicated in saying that we have, as you see in the purple text there, the 5 questions, but we actually require 9 examples in total. Okay, so 9 separate, unrelated examples from your last 5 years of work. And if we think of each of those examples as a guidance, should be around about 500 words, then we can see that that is how we get to that total word count. 9 examples multiplied by the 500 word guidance gets us to 4,500 words in terms of the word count. So, as I've said, we're not going to dive into the questions today, but it's quite useful that if we, for example, just for today, look at question 4, using your recent work experience, describe 2 situations where you used your technical knowledge and or practical experience to develop advice. Okay, so for question 4, the examiners want 2 separate examples from the last 5 years where you have given advice in a professional capacity. So if you had a client and you were going to be advising them on the implications of the implementation of a sales tax, for example, then you would showcase the examiner how you have used your technical knowledge in that area and how that has allowed you to advise the client on that matter. So that is how we structure an answer. We structure it in around about 500 words, and you're narrating the story of that situation to the examiner, okay? So as I say, we can look at further down the line in a couple of weeks or whenever, when I'm back in the UK, we could have a session where we look in more detail at the exam questions and how to approach them. So now we'll move to the last part of the presentation. So this is some more practicality. So it's next steps after today, if you're interested. It's looking at the cost of doing this route, which is very important. And it's also just glancing at some of the support that is available. As I say, we support candidates through the process in the same fashion we support our members throughout their career. So key dates. So you've heard me talk about the submission windows. So there are 2 of them a year, as I've said. One is in the English summer and one is in the winter. So the next window is in July and August. So it opens on the 13th of July and closes on the 2nd of September. So it is during those roughly 7 weeks when you take all the documents I've talked about, the letter of good standing, the sponsor's letter of good standing, the sponsor's form, and the examination of experience. And you take those documents, you upload them, and you can do that because you've registered as a candidate through our website, and that is what we call making a submission. But you only do it when the window is open. But of course, that doesn't mean that from now, you won't be working on that submission, because you very much will be. And now we're really well positioned in May to have the time to make a well thought out submission. So on the left of the timeline, of course, you're going to register. You are potentially going to join our dedicated WhatsApp group, about 150 people across the globe who are looking to do pathways at the next window. And we share on that WhatsApp group, you know, hints and tips and information and a bit of guidance. And, you know, it's a really good community actually to spur each other on to get to submit. Now, when we say EOE, that's obviously examination of experience. So you would attend one of my guidance sessions. That is a 90-minute examination of experience guidance session, which runs through the questions and how to approach them. And I have those sessions periodically, and also I have them recorded. So there's always an opportunity to watch those and take advantage of that guidance. And then essentially, once you've watched that or attended, you will start on your examination of experience. You will start thinking about your examples to answer the questions. You'll start going back through the last 5 years of work and picking out those scenarios which you're going to build up to make your answers. And therefore, you do that for the next few weeks and weeks. You, of course, get your other documents after the 2nd of June, the letter of good standing and the sponsors, letter of good standing also, and then you submit before the 2nd of September. Okay, that is the timeline. And then we release the results from that window on the 9th of December. All those examination of experience scripts get sent across to our examiners, marked, the documents get checked, and we release the results in December. So there is the potential for you to become a member of ICAEW before the end of this year. Okay. So last couple of slides, appreciate your concentration and listening in. We've got the costs. Okay, so it's important we're transparent about the cost. Registering as a candidate is, of course, free and it doesn't commit you. But when you submit between the 13th of July and the 2nd of September, you will be required to pay a £300 submission fee. Now, you can think of that, if you like, as an exam fee, because ultimately, I've said those scripts for the examination of experience need to be marked, and they're marked by our own examiners who are not our employees, but they are our members, and we must pay them for that. So that is where that goes. And then if and when you are successful, you would need to pay a one-off joining fee, admission fee to the Institute of £300. And then, of course, there are annual membership fees, which are £400 a year, but we do have 2 additional rates depending on earnings. So we don't grade the membership by geography, but we do by earnings. So that drops 2 other thresholds depending on earnings, okay? And we can provide you with more details of that as and when required. And I'll try not to be distracted by the lovely food, which has just entered the room. Okay, so there's the website. Okay, so there is a huge amount of resource and information there. I've covered a lot of it today, so that's good news. But of course, there's a lot out there. There is the actual template on the website, the tab which says support with your application. If you click on that, then you find the actual template you're going to download to type your answers into, okay? So it's all there, but myself and colleagues are on hand to guide you on that if you have any questions. And lastly, last slide is, we've talked about what happens on the 9th of December. You get the results and you're invited to join as a member, and you do that. Now, the passing rate is around about 65%. So at each window, 2 out of 3 people are successful and they come in and join us as members. And I've said before to people that it feels about the right percentage, because if I said to you 90% of people are successful, it is not a rigorous and robust process. But equally, if I said 10% are successful, we're not going to get much interest. Okay, so it's an unscientific way of saying it, but it seems about the right kind of amount. So those who are not successful get feedback where they've gone wrong, and they can resubmit at the next window. And that is often what people go on and do. And of course, they then stand an even higher chance of success, because they're only going to resubmit the questions which they have failed. So I hope that's clear. And on that note, we're going to move to, I think, probably address any questions. So that is the presentation concluded.
So no fees for the re-examination?
No, for the re-examination, there is a fee. Yes, you have to pay the fee again when you resubmit. Potentially, I can't go into too much detail, but that might be changing possibly. But as it stands, you resubmit at the moment, and you pay the resubmission.
Same fee, so
same fee as it stands at the moment.
Amount. Yeah.
Same amount, yeah. So yes, and most, as I say, I think it goes up to about 85% for a first or second time submission, if you see what I mean. So most people get in first or second time. Okay.
Thank you. Great presentation.
How many year minimum from membership? Minimum you have to 5 membership.
Yeah.
5 years. Same like
Post qualification.
Yes, exactly.
5 years.
Exactly. Yeah. Hi there.
Welcome.
Get it on.
So you all came right time.
Perfect.
Perfect time.
Yeah, of course.
This is Mr. Rizwan Mukhtar. He's in ACCA.
Hi, good to see you.
Potential for that.
Yep, excellent. Okay.
And Mr. Asif Zaman.
We know each other well. Yeah. Good to see you again. Yeah. I wasn't expecting to see you here, so it's a pleasant surprise. Yeah.
He came from me.
Okay.
I came because only of you. Because you are there in Abu Dhabi and you are there in Pakistan.
Yeah.
How was your?
It was really good. Yeah, we did three cities. Yeah.
And I got a lot of remarks from the.
Yeah. No, it's been brilliant. Yeah. So Islamabad, Lahore, and Karachi, and it sort of escalated in terms of member numbers as we went from city to city. So it was really good. Yeah, we had a productive trip.
There's a lot of now. People are inclined to go for the ICAEW.
Yes.
And then especially when you went yourself, then I think yesterday I had a long discussion with our council members also regarding this one. That now better that change ICAEW into ICAEW, otherwise you lose all the member when all the ICAEW members eventually after 5 years qualification have the ICAEW membership. Then what's going to happen next?
Right. Okay. Yes, that's quite a big discussion.
That is the point of discussion now.
Yeah, and I think slightly off track, but I think one of the purposes of the visit was to demonstrate to ICAEW, of course, that we want to work in collaboration.
The first ever interaction of ICAEW any official.
Yes.
I think I don't know how long before they have interacted.
Yeah.
And this was the first interaction in Pakistan by any ICAEW.
Not many years visit, I think. No one visited.
Yes. Now, there was president there visited long before, I don't remember which, 10 years or 20 years back. And then there were some other things also. I had, before Tim, there was a president, I forget his name. I met him in ICAEW hall also. And we had a lengthy discussion that so many people, they have applied for the ICAEW practicing registration in Pakistan.
Okay, yeah.
And they are not getting the registration because ICAEW is not issuing the good standing certificates for that purpose.
Oh, really? Okay. Very interesting. Yeah. Yes. No, I think my colleague who was there, Dan, he had a few meetings with ICAEW. Yeah. So I just deal with pathways, so that's straightforward.
Good. Are you doing a great job?
Now he is a mentor. He's a top mentor. Not only that one, he's a top mentor, and his students are securing, I think, 1 or 2 marks less than 100.
Right. I don't know about that, but
that's good to know.
Usman, somebody broke the record of Usman or no?
I'm not sure about that. No, I think possibly not. Close
to that one. I think Usman scored 96 or something like that.
Yeah, and there's a gentleman who, called Hatim Raza in Pakistan who got not too far off. Yeah.
Yes, I saw that one. I saw that. His was on 90s also.
Yes.
And then, I saw that one.
Yeah, so yeah.
He's one of the students. He's a mentor for that one. He's doing free coaching for the students. So,
yes. Hatim, yeah.
And then
now you're saying coaching is again that for the examination.
For the examination. So I'm also giving coaching that around my student, 100 around students have already passed the pathways.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So I'm just guiding them. It's basically that to how to give the exams and how to answer these questions on that one. And it's a simple way because there are, I think, the basic things are there, they are lacking.
Yeah.
Which he's already telling the people, but I think on just presentation, they don't understand. But later on, when they contact him or somebody, somebody have to go through that one and tell them, okay, in the tenses, what way. So what I foresee is that the majority of the people who are failing in the exam are they writing more. They are not reading the question correctly. They are not understanding.
But they are writing long.
Long. And then they are not to the point. Basically, it's very clear in the pathways what questions are there. So you have to be very much precise on that one. And the perceptions is that. And second thing is the relevant to your job. It has to link that what you have declared, that if you are declared you are a manager and sometimes you are showing that it's an owner job, no, it cannot. So these some, I think 3-4 points if you kept in mind and then draft the answers.
Yeah.
Then there's nothing.
So there's the American style, the short way, or the British style is a long way.
No, there is no show. British.
No, I'm just telling you.
No, there was.
The British style.
Even the Cambridge, if you go and then the other education, you see that when in Cambridge you're elaborative everything and you have to write things and then the American style is that yes. Yes or no? Huh?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. They are going on in the American style.
Like sector-wise, like see for financial service or FMCG or oil, because I'm talking like financial service, entirely their job function and like more focus is like I'm just like financial instrument and like their job duty is different.
Yes,
so,
of course. Yeah.
So if in case a sector-wise question will be different.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I say to people, and this sometimes sounds a bit comes out the wrong way, but the examiner is actually not that interested in the sector you work in or the industry or that kind of thing, as you've just said, and rightly, it's more about displaying that skill or attribute. And of course, no matter which field you work in for accounting and finance, you do display those things, and also in seniority level, people display them. So very senior people say, "Oh, I don't do analysis." I don't give advice or whatever. And actually, when you sort of sit down with them and talk to them, it suddenly starts coming out that they do those things just at a different level, So it's and as I say, we have people from lots of people, financial services or whatever it is coming in. So it's just finding the right example and the support of a sponsor, kind of mental health. Yeah.
Yes, basically that whoever. I think Faisal and Salman Sajid and we all are trying to do when we are giving the sponsorship, especially we try to mentor that one, go through that one and make sure that whoever we are sponsoring that he or she should pass the exam in first attempt. And this should not linger on for the next one. And sometimes it happens that, one question or two questions, they are not able to, write down their exact what is the requirement.
Yes.
And I see that it's very much pretty straightforward things are there. Only thing that according that, and I see that the people who are more senior level, they are more confused.
Yes.
Exactly what you were saying, that one. The reason for their confusion is that one, that they are no longer in practice. They only, verbally give things, instructions and everything like that for the past 4 or 5 years. The people who are still in the industries, it's pretty easy for them to answer this question. In the practice. And industry-wise, they become specific and then they try to find that how to adjust their experience and whatever in the last 5 years, according to that questions which have been elaborated. Yes. They may have done these things, but it's on, some back of mind or somewhere, something like that. So just as a mentor on this answering these questions every day, we have to make sure that they remember and they memorize and they get the memory back that what they have done. And it has to be linked with the professional ethics, the IFRS and all the things. Especially, so many people are confused. I think it's a pretty easy answer for the last part, which you say that is the ethical.
Yes.
What's unethical issue, think that what ethical things you have done. And then they are confused in, especially I find, too much questions they are able to write down, especially the medium level leaderships and who are in there. The last part, then stuck up.
Yes, it's true.
Which I personally, experienced that when they are asking that what should I write?
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think a lot of the other skills they're doing as part of their, and then they get a bit kind of surprised at the end when it says, tell us how you dealt with something ethical. And but actually people sometimes have to go away and either think hard about it or gain not inspiration, because it must be their experience, but as in remind themselves that it doesn't need to be necessarily something really dramatic or that kind of thing. So, it can be pressure from someone to achieve a particular result or whatever it is. So going back to the IFAC Code of Ethics kind of helps them,
It could be something which is a pressure from co-worker, from, going back. It's not only that some management, that's why I have to make clear in their mind that that situation is not only, referring to somebody which is on a higher and then taking. It could be a co-worker or some, pressure on your friends or something like that. Whatever is that, it could be anything.
So if they're, pressure to sort of display information or something in a way which,
I have a question that you have gone through, I think, so many things. That, which part you are thinking, the question which is, the most of the students, they are, failing on?
Well, we do, we look into that and look at data around that, and it's question 1. Identification of issues.
Question with part 1 and part 2. It's very much difficult for them to, differentiate between part 1 and part 2. I saw so many answers they are coming on there, and they are answering, in part 1, in question 1. Part 1, they answer in the part 2 also.
Okay.
Which I, perceive, and from this, getting the feedbacks and everything, I saw the answers which are giving, and I think 3 also. That's on the third one.
3.2. I think. I think 3.1, which is the options, people tend to do okay, but the 3.2, which is prioritizing issues and displaying judgment. So where people go wrong is they prioritize something, but they're not saying why they put it in that order.
What was the reason for that?
Yeah, exactly. So they can't expect the examiner to kind of read their mind, and they must explain it very clearly. A lot of it's just being pretty clear and overt. If you're going to give advice in question 4, state it very clearly. So, but that is obviously the sessions I run, which try and explain that, clarify that, and then, as you say, the role of the sponsor is not just to sign off; it's to read the script and get involved in a sense. As long as people's work is their own work, that's the crucial thing. There's nothing wrong with some support, mentoring, guidance. So,
what examination you have to give to qualify to work in UK then?
So depending obviously on what you're doing. I mean, if you come in through pathways, you can gain the practicing certificate, and you can engage in practice, subject to some other requirements, insurance and that sort of thing.
I think the practicing certificate you have to appear for the exam.
No, not for the practicing certificate. No, just for the audit rights. So
audit rights.
If you do the audit, then
so if you do the audit, you would need to undertake.
If you practice, then
you can perform
practice.
Practice. So obviously perform the functions of an accountant other than signing, gaining audit rights. So if you're providing bookkeeping services, so on, or whatever it is, then that's absolutely fine. No further exams.
But
I'm okay, actually. Thank you for this, T. Thank you. You don't need to sit in exams. Obviously, if you want the audit rights, then we say don't do pathways. Do the exams and the training. It's quite a big investment.
Only for those who are practicing, they need some tax exam. They have to take the test.
So if you're practicing, you just if you have clients in the UK or EU, or you work in the UK or EU, and you're a member of ICAEW engaged in public practice, you would need to gain a practicing certificate. You gain that as a practicing certificate without having to do anything after pathways. So there's no further exam in that regard. So that's quite straightforward. And
you said that you practice in EU also?
In the
EU,
Yes, because of obviously the arrangements with the when we were part of the EU, whilst we separated from the EU, a lot of the directives and the regulations were just immediately signed to have the same impact, if you see what I mean. So that's why the EU is included in that. But obviously for a lot of the people who do pathways, they work in MNCs or corporates or business, and that's not.
I'm an ICAEW and a practicing member over here also, because I practice here in UAE as an ICAEW member. If I want to do practice in UK or there, then I have to apply there the certificate.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
But here already in the practicing one.
Outside they allow. What happens?
Outside. So, for example, if you were in Pakistan and you're practicing, and you're a member of ours, but you're only practicing you only have clients in Pakistan, you don't need to gain our practicing certificate.
Because I competed for the global practicing member elections 2 times. Last time also I competed.
Okay. Good stuff. Yeah. So it's it's a little bit not complicated, but there's a few things to consider.
Practicing certificate is immediately given after.
Yeah. So you can request it when you become a member, and you gain that instantly, basically.
After passing these.
After passing pathways, you are eligible, because the requirements for gaining the practicing certificate is that, it's slightly ironic, but that you must have been a member of one of your professional bodies for just 2 years. So you satisfy that for pathways because you've already been a member for 5 years. So it just ticks the box there. So yeah, no issues there. Yeah.
Doc, careful.
Oh, thank you. Maybe, just something like.
If
thank you.
someone has a CPS certification of USA, he can also go for this.
No. So US CPAs are not pathways eligible. They would have to come in and gain credits.
They're on the gap and others are on IFRS. So the gap, so the main difference is they're practicing, methodology and everything like that. So ICAEW, they recognize all the one which is under going for IFRS like ACCA, Pakistan, Zimbabwe, I think, and others. There are so many institutes. There's a list of institutes over written on the website also. Australia and New Zealand, South Africa.
We were doing last presentation. I think there's some that 140 countries are applying at IFRS.
Only now, I think US is only left a gap, rest are all on IFRS. Before Saudi were also practicing gap, they converted to.
I missed some presentation. Can I have a brief about the process, because I might be this next batch student?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Sum it up in 2 minutes. So your professional body is
ICAEW.
Okay.
These are council member here.
Okay. Okay. So the process is that obviously you're eligible, so we don't need to talk about any of that. But the process is essentially getting a letter of good standing from ICAEW. Okay. Getting a sponsor who would not need the letter, being an ICAEW member, for example. And then you basically start answering the questions in the examination of experience. So those are the 5 questions, which are no secret. You just do them in your own time over several weeks, and you answer those 5 questions using specific examples from your last 5 years of work. Okay?
5 years.
No further back. Okay, just the last 5 years. And so, as we were saying, question 4 of the 5 is about show the examiner where you've given advice professionally. So you would look back over your last 5 years and you would pick out 2 examples for that question where you've given advice to a client or your boss or whoever it is. And then you would structure your answer around that and narrate the story around that situation. And you do that for all of the questions. And then you end up with a document of 4,500 words. Okay. And then when the submission window opens in July and August, you take that examination of experience, the letter of good standing from ICAEW, and your sponsor's form. If they're ICAEW, they don't need a letter. And you upload them through the website, and that's making a submission. Okay. But along the way, there's support. So I run these sessions, which focus on how to answer the questions.
What are these questions specifically?
Specifically, I think we're all still in. Hang on, so that's good. Let me just quickly.
4 questions and 2 parts, and the last one is.
Let me quickly go back, because you can just glance them. Actually, quite useful just to. Right, so here we go. So 5 questions. Okay, so each question is pegged to a skill or attribute we want to see you demonstrate. So the first skill we expect to see is that you have identified issues The second is where you have displayed the skill of analysis. The third, where you've displayed judgment professionally. The fourth, as I said, is where you've given advice. And the fifth is how you've dealt with an ethical issue, all from the last 5 years. But you see here, we have 5 questions, but questions 1 to 4, we want you to give 2 examples where you've displayed that skill. So we actually end up having 9 examples. So we have 2 examples for 1, 2 for 2, 2 for 3, 2 for 4, and just 1 for 5. 5 questions, 9 examples. Each example should be roughly 500 words. So that's how we get to the 4,500 words. And all the examples are unrelated, okay? They don't have to be sequential. We're not saying question 1 must be, 2017, question 2, 2018. And you essentially need to just go back through the last 5 years and pick the examples where you've displayed that skill. And that's
you're coaching also. And they're coaching also. And you're coaching also, right?
Coaching.
Yeah.
Can you
yes.
Huh? Go back to
previous one, yeah.
For example, identification of the business issue and the analysis of the same issue can happen?
No, so they would need to be...
have another issue.
Separate, yeah.
What if you're working in a smooth organization, not much issue?
Well, I mean, for example, it's a good point because if, for example, you're working on a project and that project might span 3 months, 6 months, okay. There is nothing wrong with pulling examples from that project, okay. All we're saying, sorry, perhaps I didn't explain it well, is that we're not expecting you to talk about an issue in question 1 and then for question 2, like pick up the story immediately afterwards. So it won't be flowing in that regard. So that's just how you've got to structure it. So yeah, those are the questions.
We have a good database, huh? All these questions, everyone has experience questions, these are.
Yeah.
So we have the ICAEW has a good database, which is having.
Yeah. So we provide sample scripts, for example. In my session, the 90-minute session, I pull a load of answers from people who've done well most of the time, and I talk through why they're successful answers. And that is across the range of accounting finance.
What's the cost?
The cost, here we go, is when you submit, okay, you pay £300. Okay, so that's like your exam fee in essence, because the examiner's going to mark your script. And then it's £300, a one-off. It's like joining a gym, right? When you pay a one-off joining fee, okay? And that is the £300. And then you will pay annual membership fees. Now, the figure of 400 is the top standard amount, but don't quote me on the exact figures, but for those who earn under about 31,000 sterling, the membership fee cuts in half to 200. And those who are not working, retired, or earning under about £16,000 sterling, it drops dramatically to about, I think it's £56. Yeah.
What about other jurisdiction countries? Because, like if you convert with conversion rate, maybe it's not here, in Gulf, people are earning far more than,
They are charged £1,000 and rest
no.
From their money, some people are getting back.
So, no, I'm just asking.
Is it, sorry, the question was
here
that...
in GCC especially, like people earning amount is far, is more than as compared to countries. No tax. One of the reasons.
Oh, no tax. Okay.
Yeah, so that's the reason. So you got it. So is there
I think our members in the UK
you
probably
come across anyone from UAE or Asif can give some idea, because here is salaries and this is far higher than, as compared to UK.
But
because
they're not taking you more.
Huh?
They're not taking you more.
Okay.
Yeah, I dispute that maybe. I'm not sure salaries are necessarily higher than in the UK, but maybe
no comparatively no tax here, but
possibly the tax thing, yeah. But I think, there's Sam, you'll know more probably, but because we talked about it earlier, but they've done research, haven't they, into not just us compared to ICAEW earnings compared to, for example, ACCA or whatever, but I think it's fair to say our members earn.
Yeah, there's an independent online salary survey. And you look across the average salaries of members in the UK, granted, and across ACCA, AAT, Associate Institute of International Accountants, and our members are paid far more, significantly more on average than the others. And why is that? It's because our members hold more senior positions. It's 73% of the FTSE 100 stock exchange organisations have got at least one of our members on their boards. So the seniority. So independent.
And there's even I can't remember the figure, but there is an average for an ICAEW member in the UK.
150.
It's a lot of money. The average earnings. But so I think that I think the point of this is that I know other global competitors, for example, do pricing sometimes based on geography. So they might say, if it's Africa, then your membership fee is X amount. So we don't do that, but as I say, we do it purely on earnings. So
actually, in UK now the packages are fixed based on the risk you are taking on that job, and more and more you are qualified, and more you're on senior positions of that directorship or a member of the audit committee. You're taking more risks, so your package will be also more.
Ministry of Economy, they are planning to make an institute here. I'm sharing with you. In my last meeting. They started working. It's a good opportunity there because we suggested to them that there's no local institute of United Arab Emirates. And they're thinking very much on that. I think ICAEW can give service to that.
That sounds very interesting.
That's separate to AAA?
Yes, AAA is, the membership body holds. They want to have an institute type.
Okay.
A lot of discussion I had with the undersecretary, not one, many. And I convinced him that you need your own. Well, AAA is just a registration body. There should be own exams.
Qualification built around.
Institute of Chartered Accountants of Emirates. They are creating that.
Right. Okay.
I already have a long discussion with Michael on that one.
Okay.
They are creating that one, and the draft and everything is with the undersecretary, and even they have taken the quotations and everything like that. That will be doing that one. And I had discussion with AAA people over there, Amna and Abdul Samad.
Okay.
On regarding that, what will be their real roles, and that I think their role more will be on regulatory side, checking side, what we can say on SME cases. And then the institute which we are trying to create is on the educational side. And it will be looked after by some government educational institute. So this Institute of Chartered Accountants of Emirates. It will be ICAEW, like W of that.
So what's the because in ICAEW, for example, we have our capacity building department, which falls in the area I sort of work in. It's not what I do, but and that is their kind of bread and butter really is working with governments, whether funded by the government or the World Bank or whoever it is, to create qualifications and similar. So support.
It's an opportunity for you.
This the opportunity for the time being, unless they do it.
As we speak.
Again, the quotation that we had long discussion with Michael, and I was surprised and shocked that it's not recorded. Recording so it's this,
the brain is recording.
Brain is recording because what happened, according to our information, it was, when it was tendered, ICAEW, ACCA was supposed to be part of that one. But later on, when I confirmed with Michael that ICAEW was never, invited, and Indian Chartered Accountant was awarded that.
Were they? Okay.
Already awarded that?
Already awarded. They were, and in their report, according to them, they get something like that. This is confidential. Because we get connection, and when we come to know that we were all